guys, and welcome back to today's video. So today I'm going to be filming my COVID-19 birth story. So I'm joined today by little Esme, who's currently 3 months old. You want to say hi, Esme? Say hi. You're very grumpy. So Esme was born on the 16th of May 2020 at 9:31 p.m. So on the day of Esme's birth, well, I suppose I should start by saying that Esme was actually due on the 10th of June. So Esme was born at 36 weeks and I think 3 days. So it was just a spontaneous birth. We had no idea that she was going to come that day. So on the day of Esme's birth, we actually went for a walk with the dogs. I think we popped into my grandma's. We had some chips on the chip shop for lunch. It was literally just a normal day. I think we did a bit of tidying downstairs, and because we've only been in our house since March, we put like a rug down and put like a new unit up and stuff like that as well. So just getting it nice really. I think about 4:30 Sam was out cleaning the dogs, cleaning the cars. So I think I started to get some pains, and I texted him saying like, I don't feel too good, you're gonna have to come inside. At the time I really didn't know what it was. It was just a bit, I can't remember if it was in my back. I think I had a bit of back pain, so I just thought, oh well, I don't really know what it was, but I just don't feel well. So I came upstairs about 5:30, so I've been timing them and they were every minute apart, lasting for 30 seconds. So I think the odd one was maybe like 2 minutes apart, but mostly they were just a minute apart. So I texted him saying like, can you come inside, like I really don't feel well. So he came in anyway, and he said like, ring the hospital. So I think I just went for a bath and chilled for a bit, and by the time it got to about 6:30, I just thought this is not getting any better. So I did ring the hospital and told them the situation, and basically they said that I was only 36 weeks, it was normal to get back pain because baby's head is going down into the pelvis, and that I should basically just take a paracetamol and just go for another bath. So I felt really dismissed, and that maybe that I was lying and that I wasn't actually in labour. Obviously being my first baby, I just didn't really know what labour was like, what to expect really, and how it was going to go. So honestly I had no idea that I was actually in labour, to be honest. So what happened was, I spoke to my mum and she said that basically I probably wasn't in labour just because I was so early. I spoke to Sam's mum and she said that she'd only had C-section, so she didn't know what labour felt like anyway, because she'd never had like a proper contraction. And then by this point they were getting really bad, and I just felt like I was getting on and off the toilet because I just felt like I wasn't feeling very well. And I remember texting my friends as well saying that if this isn't labour, I really don't want to give birth, just because I just felt like I was in so much pain. I kept like timing them, and I think after the hospital had said to me like, don't come in, I think that I'd felt a bit deflated, so I stopped timing them for about an hour, just thinking like, this is obviously nothing, like I'm just timing for the sake of it. By about 7, half 7, I got in the bath again because I'd already took a paracetamol. It did absolutely nothing. So I had another bath. While I was in the bath, I remember like not crying, but I think I did like a little scream in pain, and I remember feeling like something was going to come out of me. But obviously at the time I didn't register that it was the baby because I thought, I'm not in labour, I'm not in labour. So then Sam had basically said like, this is enough, we need to call the hospital. And I was just saying like, no, I don't want to speak to them, I don't want to tell them, like I don't want to go because I'm not in labour, they don't believe me. So then we sat on the bed and like I was pacing the room, I felt like I couldn't get dressed, and it was just getting worse by the minute really. And I started timing them again, and they were like every like less than a minute by that point, and lasting for over a minute. So Sam rang the hospital, it was about 8:30, and they said just come in. So I think by that time I'd rang my dad and said like, can you come and get the dogs, because I don't know what's going to happen, I don't know how long I'm going to be in for or anything like that. So by the time I was about to leave, they literally like intensified. I remember being stood downstairs, going to the toilet and thinking, I must get off the toilet because what if I'm actually in labour. So I remember standing outside the house, and then it was really hard to get in the car because my body was just like pushing. And obviously still at the time I really didn't know if it was going to be labour or not. I really didn't know if I was going to have the baby that day. You were in trouble, weren't you? So when I was trying to get into the car, I remember being like really painful, and I remember keeling over in pain and just feeling like I don't know how I'm going to physically sit in this car, because I was just more uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do with myself. Like I said, I was pacing and things like that as well. So I did get in, are you pulling your dress? I did get into the car, probably about a minute or two away from the house. I said to Sam, like, pull over, I can't do this anymore. I just felt like I couldn't sit still in the car because I was like stamping my feet and I just didn't know what to do with myself. And then he refused anyway. He wanted to drive. He was like, no, like, you're not in labour, let's carry on. He was just, I was saying like the baby's coming, and he was like, no, it's not, let's get there. So we got there anyway. It must have been about 9 o'clock. Oh dear. You got cough. So then I went in, and they basically met us at the door and said like Sam couldn't come in. They were like, oh, you're the 36 weeker. So that made me feel really bad, because I felt like obviously they think I'm lying, like, yes, I'm only 36 weeks, so probably I'm not in labour and I'm just a first-time mum and I don't know how to handle the pain. So they told Sam that he couldn't even wait in the waiting area, he had to go. So he went outside. They took me into a room and gave me like a pot to do a urine sample and said to me, like, go do this. So I went into the toilet and I just sat down, and then I stood straight back up and thought, I cannot sit down, like something is going to come out of me. And I still didn't really know like if I was in labour or not. I thought, yeah, maybe it's starting, but I didn't think I was going to be advanced enough to about to give birth. So I went back into the room and said, literally, I cannot do a urine sample because I'm about to give birth. So they said, like, just lie down and we'll examine you. So then they went to examine me and was like, oh my God, you're 10 centimetres. Can we break your water? So then I started panicking, thinking, oh my God, Sam's going to miss it. So then eventually the midwife, because I couldn't get hold of Sam to come, eventually the midwife agreed to go and look for Sam outside in the car park and get him. So as he came in, literally Esme's head was half out. So they literally broke my waters and she was pretty much here. Wasn't you? You were so fast. So I remember just before they broke my waters, or just before they said like she was coming, I said, can you give me some pain relief? And they said, like, Shannon, this baby's coming right now, there's nothing we can do, like, you've got to give birth. They said her heart rate is going to drop, you really need to give birth now, so you need to push as hard as you can. Yes. So yeah, I think, I don't really remember this, but I remember looking at my phone like a day or two later and seeing that I texted my mum. So it must have been just like in the adrenaline, I'd text my mum without even knowing, because as far as I was aware, after Esme was born, I thought nobody even knew that I was in the hospital, that I was about to give birth. But I'd literally text my mum at 9:20 saying baby's on his way. So I literally don't even remember. And Esme was actually born at 9:31. So literally 11 minutes after I texted my mum saying that baby was coming, she was here. So yeah, after Esme was born, I think I had 2 contractions and pushed twice, like within them contractions pushed both times, and she was born. So it was a really fast labour, really fast delivery. And like I said, I'd only been in labour for a few hours that day, and it didn't really get bad until about 6:30. So yeah, I felt really bad because I thought like the hospital just, I feel like they didn't believe that I was in labour. They thought 36 weeks, first time mum, there's no way she's going to be in labour. There's no way she's about to give birth anytime soon. I did know that I had a high pain threshold, but I really didn't think that I would get to 10 centimetres and give birth with like nothing. So I was quite happy about that. But after birth, they obviously put her on my chest and checked me all over and said like there's no tears, just a graze. So I remember, because of COVID, the nurses literally just left us. So me, Sam and Esme just literally stayed in the room for like what felt like forever, but it must have only been like an hour or something. And they were in and out, but they weren't really doing that much, to be honest. They said they were just filling out paperwork. So they said, like, we'll give it an hour, we'll come back, and then you can try and feed her for the first time, because I wanted to breastfeed. So after about an hour, they came back in, and like Esme had, obviously she was just wearing a towel, so she'd done a few little poos on me. And they said, like, oh, do you want me to put a nappy on her? So they took her onto the little nurse's station bit and got her in a nappy and put a sleep suit on her. Whilst doing that, I really can't remember if she was like crying or something like that. But anyway, the midwife put her hand in her mouth just to soothe her, I guess, like to suck her full or something, and found that Esme's palate was really high. So then they called in a specialist from the special care baby unit and basically said, like, we want you to examine, because they thought something was wrong. At the time, obviously, we didn't know anything was going to be wrong with Esme at all. We'd had really good scans. They'd always told us that she was absolutely fine. So that was quite a shock, really. And I think when the special doctor was like checking her over, they weren't really telling us what was going on. They didn't say, oh, she might have issues or anything like that. They just kind of kept it a bit hush. They were like, oh, he's just going to come in and have a look at her. So I was lying there thinking, like, is my baby okay? What's going on? So then he checked her over and he was like, yeah, and they were talking, and then he said, like, she's got a cleft palate. So basically the roof of her mouth, inside the roof of her mouth is gone, so it's like a high arch. And they said basically that you can't feed her, she needs to go down to special care and she needs to have a tube put in just so she can feed. So I agreed for her to have formula for that feed, because obviously I hadn't expressed anything before. I was only 36 weeks, I had no milk to give her. So they did take her and they did obviously tube feed her. So after that they took me for, oh, don't cry, they took me for a shower. Well, we waited for what felt like forever, and then I asked to go to the toilet and they said, like, do you want to have a shower at the same time? So they took me for a shower, and then I came back into the room, and it must have been, by this time it was probably about midnight, and then they were literally just left me and Sam in there for ages. They were doing like paperwork and stuff like that, and then they agreed to bring Esme back down from special care. So they brought her back at like, I think it must have been about 1:30, 2 in the morning. So they brought her back down and she had like a little tube in her mouth that she'd been fed, and she had like little milk all around her face, like dried milk. Yeah, it was so nice to see her, but also like they brought her back in like a little, one of them little incubator beds, and it was just really sad that I knew she was going to go for the night. And they basically said to me, you've got 10 minutes to see her and then she's got to go. And obviously then we're going to decide whether you go or you go to the ward or whatever. So we both got to hold her and like have a little photo with her and stuff like that. And then the nurse did come back and take her. So I think on the night that she was born, I think it was such a shock that she was actually born at 36 weeks and that we weren't even expecting to give birth that day, that I tell you, that was quite emotionless. Obviously she'd gone, and I was like to Sam, like, this is really weird, like they've took her, but I can't say that I was like sad or crying or anything like that. I think I was just so numb and in shock that I'd even given birth, that I just had nothing left to feel. Like I had no emotions. I was so tired. And then they said to me at like 2 o'clock in the morning, they helped me hand express some colostrum into syringes that they took to her. So I think I did like 2 syringes and they took them for her. And they gave me like, I think about 10 to take home, and said to me like, keep doing it every couple of hours in the night, and then obviously we can give her the colostrum alongside the formula that we're giving her. Just like put it in her mouth and stuff for the taste and like the nutrients. So then they said to me, because like the labour was really straightforward, it was spontaneous, but I had no tears, I didn't need any stitches, and they were really happy with like the blood loss and things like that. So they said to me, you can go up to the ward, but you have to be by yourself, or you can go home and then you can come back in the morning and have a postnatal check. So I looked at Sam and kind of said, well, I want to go home, I don't want to stay on the ward by myself, I haven't got my baby, I haven't got my husband, I won't be able to see anyone, I don't want to stay. So by this time it was already like 2 in the morning. So they just said to me like, we're absolutely happy for you to go home, we can see why you want to. So they literally disappeared for about another half an hour and like did all of the paperwork for me to go and stuff like that. So they said to me that I would need blood thinning injections to stop blood clots in my belly, and that when I came back the next day I'd have to pick them up. So then what happened then? I think eventually they came back with all the paperwork. It took so long. They gave us some forms for special care and basically said there was like an online system where they would take photos of Esme and send them to us by this app. So that was quite nice, and we had to set up a password for that. But it turns out they actually only sent, for the whole time she was in special care, they sent me 1 photo. So a bit rubbish, but yeah. So we agreed to go anyway, and I think we got home at like 3:30 in the morning. So we got home, and like I said, literally we were just so emotionless. I wasn't feeling anything. Like I felt like I couldn't be sad, I couldn't be happy. I was just really numb. So I had, when we got home, I had a sandwich. I think we both had a sandwich and went to bed, and I literally pretty much didn't sleep. Every couple of hours. Like I said, I got up in the night and expressed colostrum. I literally didn't want to wake Sam up either, so I sat in the toilet by myself, just like expressing and just feeling really sorry for myself. So the next morning, it was Sunday. Yeah, it's Sunday. So I got up at like 8 or 9 and then had a shower, expressed again, and then my dad came to pick me up to take me to the hospital. So I didn't really want to drive. I think Sam didn't really want to drive either. So it was agreed that he would go to my mum's house and have like a cooked breakfast, sorry, and that I would go to the hospital for the day. So because Esme was in special care and because of the COVID guidelines, the hospital basically said to us that only one parent per 24 hours can visit Esme. So I looked at Sam and basically the agreement was that I was going to go. I think that he basically felt sorry that only one of us could go, and he was like, you've just given birth to her, like you really need to go see her. So for me, there was no question at all. Like, I was going to say, I'm going. Like, I don't understand how you could not see a baby and how you could choose which parent's more valuable and which parent should go. But anyway, we both agreed that I would go. So yeah, I think I got to the hospital at like 10 in the morning. I had to obviously have my postnatal checkup first, and then I got my blood injections, and then I got to go and see Esme. As soon as I walked in and saw her, I literally burst out into tears. I think I was just, all my emotions just came in one go, and I literally just saw her and I was just like crying. So it was so emotional, but it's so perfect to see her. And I literally stayed with her all day, like obviously watched them feed her. She was being tube fed with a syringe, like bolus feeding, so I watched them bolus feed her a few times. Obviously changed her nappies, got her dressed. So because my labour was so fast, I did pack my bags in the car, but I didn't really take everything. So after I gave birth, they put her in like a little orange hat, and that's all we had. So Sam went to the car and brought our bags in, and I had a sleep suit, but she was born at £6.6. And I did have some 0 to 1 month clothes and some newborn clothes, but everything was like a bit too big really. But she did wear one sleep suit that I had, and her head was quite small, so she didn't fit into any of the hats I got either. So like I said, she had a knitted little, I think it was like an orangey yellow hat as well. So because she went on special care, I think I was just so caught up in the moment, I didn't leave her any clothes or nappies or anything. So when I went to see her the next day, she was dressed in like an outfit that the hospital had, so some little blue stripy trousers and like a little top that said born to shop. It was really disgusting. So I definitely changed her straight away, but it was nice that they had something to put her in. But the nurses were saying they did not have any girls' clothes that would fit her. So she was pretty big considering she was born early, but she was a lot smaller than I expected, because the whole through my pregnancy they kept saying like, you're gonna have a really big baby, she's gonna be big, and I guess she was gonna be probably £8, £9 if she was born full term, but she actually wasn't, so that's why she was still only 6'6". So because I literally didn't have anything apart from a few 0 to 1 month clothes, so I didn't have to go out and buy some. But when I went to see her the next day, like I said, I left some nappies and like clothes for her and stuff like that. And I think I did go on the next day. They basically said that because she's got a cleft palate, she needed to be seen by the cleft team. So they said like obviously on Monday morning the cleft nurse will come and see her and they'll make a decision about where we go from here. So the Monday morning the cleft nurse came out and said basically that she had a cleft palate and then also Pierre-Robin sequence, PRS. So we had no idea what that was at all. I'd never heard about anything like that. So I will do a separate video on PRS and what that is and how that's affected Esme. But basically they said that she had not mild, not severe, but she had moderate PRS and that she would need to be tube fed for some time. But yeah, so after Esme's birth, she stayed in hospital for I think 12 days. So that was the hardest 12 days of my life, especially the days where Sam went and I couldn't go. So I think by day 3, that was Sam's first day going to see her, which is just absolutely awful. I couldn't imagine not seeing her for 3 days, but that's just the way it worked out. And obviously, like I said, I really did not want to not see her. So yeah, he went to see her anyway, and I dropped him off, and the drive home, I remember I just sobbed the whole way home. Like, I cried so much, and when I got home, I was expressing every 3 hours, but I literally was just crying the whole time. I think I must have gone to my mum's house or something because I just didn't know what to do with myself. I know obviously there was some sort of lockdown, but I just could not sit at home and be by myself knowing that my husband wasn't here, my baby wasn't here, and I wasn't going to see her. So yeah, and then I remember Sam tried to video call me to show me her, and I literally had to hang up because I was crying so much, just like seeing her face. Yeah, I'm covered in dribble. I'm covered in dribble. But it's just crazy to think that we're 3 months on. She's almost 15 weeks now. It's just gone so fast. And when I do think back to her time in special care, I do get really sad, and I do think it was such a hard time. Like, not seeing her every day was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. But look where we are now. We've got a gorgeous baby. She's almost 15 weeks old. She's so clever. She's still tube fed, but we're getting there. And obviously we've got lots of things to sort out, and like lots of improvements to make, and obviously a lot of that is going to be in time when she grows a bit more, but that's obviously all part of the PRS journey. So like I said, what I'll do is I'll do a separate video based on her PRS about how that's affected us, what that means for Esme, I guess the plans with her for surgery, and all sorts of things like that, about her breathing and her feeding. Yeah, so I think that's probably it, to be honest. But yeah, so that video is going to come soon, and then I might do a video about what I packed in my hospital bag, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm probably going to do a postpartum essentials video, because I think that's quite interesting, because I think you just don't really know until you've had a baby. Like, I didn't know anyone really that had babies. Obviously my mum had babies a long time ago. I don't have any friends that have had babies really, so it was quite hard to know what to pack, especially during lockdown, because once I gave birth, once I was at hospital, nobody could just drop things off because nobody was allowed in or out. And once we got to special care, when Esme was in special care, say if I went in at 10 in the morning, bless you, I had to stay until I was ready to leave. And then say if I wanted to leave at 6 p.m, nobody could go back then until the following day. So it's not like I could just go and then come back and see her again. But yeah, so sad. But we made it through, didn't we? I think things definitely get better. It's just in the moment you just can't see how it's ever going to get better. But yeah, you definitely get through it, and we're definitely on the mend now, aren't we, Esme? So that's our birth story, especially during COVID. So I hope that's interesting for some people to watch. And like I said, there'll be some more videos coming about Esme's birth and Esme's condition in the future. But I wanted to say thanks for watching. I hope you give the channel a subscribe and you like this video, and look to see my other videos. Thanks, bye. Does anyone want to say bye? Bye.